Here we go into the draft. Bigetron Esports on the blue side, Amihan Esports on the red side. We've seen a lot of focus on the Ziggs, a lot of focus on the Camille and Gragas. This time, it's going to be Akali that's instantly banned out by Bigetron Esports.
And I think this is a champion that Amihan Esports has used in the past domestically, and I think banning it away is a good ban from Bigetron Esports, removing it onto the roster of Amihan Esports. And now Amihan Esports needs to think, what are we gonna ban away? And it looks like it's gonna be Ziggs, one of the priority bans, or one of the priority picks rather, coming throughout in the Summer Super Cup. Day number 1, removing the back long range damage for Bigetron Esports.
So far, we've seen him, picked first on the blue side, not so much banned, but teams are starting to realize the value of this. Hence, we see the focus as Janna and Lee Sin rounds out the ban for this game, or rounds out the bans for this game. Now, first pick Bigetron Esports. And Fede, what are you feeling here? What's good? I mean, we still have Camille, we still have Galio, we still have Gragas.
Yeah, there's a lot of selections, and I think Bigetron Esports can pick any of these champions depending on what they want to do out onto their draft composition. Do they want an early game composition? Do they want a mid game, late game composition? Or do they want a balance of everything in mind? And Twisted Fate seems to me that they're looking for the mid game, because the golden cord, as the viewers watching at home right now, gives you 2.5 second stun on a single target champion. So I think that's going to be a good CC from Bigetron Esports.
And now Gragas Camille instantly locked in for Amihan Esports. We saw some semi-global pressure from the Twisted Fate. I say semi-global, he's able to be on most parts of the map. Maybe a Galio here supplements that. Maybe they might want it, but instead they go for Jarvan and Braum and snap picks in response. Wukong, the first time we've seen it today here in 30, and the Lulu as well for Orthros.
Yeah. And Lulu, Wukong, I think there is a potential that Amihan Esports can come into a very strong individual champion. But Vayne, been locked in. This is the first time. But I think Amihan Esports is looking for the mid-game, late game, aside from the early game, because their champions are not really stating that sentence when it comes to the early phase of the game.
The Vayne here actually seems very interesting, because the only real, kind of reliable lockdown they have is going to be the gold card and the flag and drag. And the latter there still has some, kind of window to tumble away from. I'm kind of afraid of how Bigetron Esports is going to deal with this Vayne. They might not have the tools necessary to kind of lock her down.
Now, we're jumping into the Rift, wherein everything can be on the line for both Amihan Esports and Bigetron Esports. But considering that you have a Gragas mid lane, we have Carl going in for the early rotations into the mid lane as well, to go for sort of the fast clear that enables Carl to then go for the Baron lane to then clear out that wave. Because if you consider it, mid lane is typically where the minion wave comes in sooner into the river side, comes into the mid side of the mid lane, and that just enables Camille or Carl to just clear that out, to then go for the Baron lane and still have his wave up.
Now, we should note that Mitsura, with the early push, was able to put a ward down on the enemy blue buff, so they will know if control moves up. He's still doing a full clear on his side of the jungle, so that ward will not pay off anytime yet. In fact, he might just continue on into taking the Scuttle Crab, as we see this sort of a wet noodle fight in the Baron lane. Harry and Doa have to be careful here. They need to push up to get some control here for, control.
Yeah. Control the control if they want to control the game. That's simply going to be the statement that we can expect from Bigetron Esports and Amihan Esports. But looking at the dual lane, I think with Tristana for the side of Bigetron Esports, Amihan Esports locking into Vayne for Demon is sort of the champions that doesn't really have the potential to really dish out damage when it comes to the game. Because Vayne needs 3 core items, and in the same way, Tristana does the same thing. So I think this is sort of the patience game for both Bigetron and Amihan, and they're waiting for the 15-minute mark, the 18-minute mark, to really just dish out those 5v5.
Now, with the bot lane priority, it looks like Bigetron Esports will be able to walk in and take the enemy blue buff, whereas Jelson now is kind of responding in kind. He's walking into the opponent jungle to take Bigetron Esports buff away as well. So overall, a trade between both sides, but it is Bigetron Esports that are coming out ahead in terms of goal lead right now, just purely off of the mid and bot side.
Yeah. Having the Rift Scudder, as you stated, into the bottom side of the map for Bigetron Esports, they're pretty much safe into the dual lane.
Oh man, look at that. The summer spells are already used. We have a barrier and heal being expanded by Amihan Esports, but just an early jump in from Bigetron will force them to use those very important summoner spell. So now they're a bit more worse for wear. They have to be careful about how they approach this lane, as the range advantage again still belongs to Bigetron Esports.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think we talked about how it's gonna be safe. It's gonna be a safe play, but Control having a 3-man roam, there's gonna be looking good.
There you go, Cataclysm, the Goomba Stomp in, and Demon's instantly dead. Authoros is the next to follow. The map control coming in from Bigetron Esports in a blink of an eye. They decimate the Dragon Lane duo, and now they're going to get engaged upon here. There's your Glacial Fissure as well as the Cyclone from the Wukong, but is it enough though? As we see Mitsura instantly dying, and now the flash forward into the gold card. Another kill being picked up by Bigetron Esports. They strike fast, they strike hard, and now they control the bottom side.
And they have went in for a quick and efficient pickoff against Amihan Esports, and I think that is where Nuts comes in. Because you have level 5 already, and Destiny is available for himself, and that just enables him to go for the TP into the bot lane. And even though if Amihan Esports wants to go back away for Demon and Orcrus, you cannot, because Control is there to control you in backing away, have those CCs to just put you down and disable you from returning to your base. And now Bigetron Esports is leading in a 3k gold lead, and the fight is not even over, it's just the beginning.
Infinity, we're starting to see why they prioritized this Twisted Fate so early in the draft. He's already picked up the Boots of Lucidity. They're moving over onto this Mountain Dragon. All 5 members from Bigetron Esports are grouped up. It's going to be a party in this pit, and they should be able to secure this with Control Smite. Currently available, and there you go. That is going to be the first Dragon of the game going to Bigetron Esports. Now they're grouping up for this Dragon Tier 1, and they should be able to get it with the Tristana as well.
Yeah, and we have a counter swap lane. We have a counter 4-man roam for Amihan Esports as well, taking the tier 1 turret into the Baron lane. It's the same way how Bigetron got the Tower First Blood into the bot lane. But the difference maker here is more gold for BTR.
Hold on, flag and drag up. He's going to have to use the hook shot to get out. They really didn't commit much for that kill, and at the end, you know, Carl is still gonna have to use his flash to get out. Bigetron Esports, they pick up the blue buff, or hope to pick up the blue buff. The rest of Amihan are collapsing here, so it's looking tough. They at least blow the summoner spell before getting out.
Yeah, definitely. Having the summoner spell when it comes to the fight is going to be very important, as it gives you extra survivability or even extra escape route when it comes down to it. So I think when it comes to the 5v5, you need to be aware, does the enemy team have summoner spells? Do we have summoner spells to go for the counter engage? And these are sort of the key variables to take note. And now it's Gragas into Twisted Fate. We talked about a while ago, Amelie versus a ranged champion in the mid lane is not the best thing in the world. And now it's Mitsura having to sort of wait for the wave to be cleared down.
Explosive cast being used. The body slam knocks him back in. Control's gonna be able to flag and drag away from the enemy attention. So for the most part, he's gonna survive, but a flash in. Mitsura should be able to get him into this, the GA kind of revive with the barrel down. Meanwhile, the push from Amihan Esports was there for the Dragon Tier 1, and they will pick that one up while rotating across to the bottom half of the map.
Yeah, and I want to put a quick point onto the GA. Typically, when a jungler puts the GA first item, this enables your team to go for a very aggressive type of setup. And that is what BTR did, and even then, Amihan Esports tries to bring him down, but no. Revive will be there for Control to survive much longer.
Now, the Globe Herald was taken by Bigetron Esports, and now they have that sort of utility to use to demolish a turret if they want to. Considering that Baron Tier 1 is already down and Dragon Tier 1 is already down, we have to kind of think that this is going to be a mid-Tier 1 Rift Herald.
Probably, because if you're looking at it, Bigetron Esports already secured the 2 turrets into the Baron lane, has secured the tier 1 turret into Dragon lane. So what more could they want aside from the mid lane? Because if they remove the tier 1 turret into the mid lane, this opens up the map control for them, and not just in the lanes, but also into the enemy team jungle camps. That just disables how Amihan Esports can now freely roam when it comes to their very own side of the map. And on top of all that, I want to put a quick note that 4 wards are placed onto Amihan Esports' jungle, onto the top side of the map. How can you not have any more information than that?
Yep, the side of the map is brighter than a Christmas tree right now. You have full vision of anyone walking around, and with that Destiny, you could, look to jump someone just making a straight journey alone through the top half of the jungle. And like you said, removing mid tier 1 also opens up the bottom half and it allows them to make these global plays. We see the rotations coming in from Bigetron Esports. Dilla and Harry will be making the moves down to the Dragon Lane to push this one out. Still some time left. About now 30 seconds before the Cloud Drake spawns. So this is a window for them to kind of push, reset, get items, and set up.
Now, 20 seconds remaining. As you set up, setup is going to be key. The word here is setup. If Bigetron Esports gets the first setup onto Amihan Esports, this is gonna be over. Because they have the gold lead, they have the kill lead, they have the Master Dragon for their team as well to utilize when it comes to extra survivability. And Nuts have 2.5 seconds stun. Control has the Cataclysm to bring down Amihan Esports. So I think Amihan Esports needs to think, we need to have the priority in an engagement to win those fights.
Oh, look at this. They drop the Herald. It gets a charge off, and the explosive cast comes out to disengage. Now, the focus is on Control, who's going to be able to get out. They expanded the explosive cast for that fight, whereas Bigetron Esports, they still have all their ultimates up. They're going to be moving over to this Cloud Dragon and getting the priority, so it's falling very low already. It seems as though Amihan Esports, they're not looking to contest this objective. The second consecutive Dragon now goes the way of Bigetron Esports.
Yeah. And with those goals that Bigetron Esports is filling in, you already have Infinity Edge and Static Shiv for Tristana. And now mid lane.
Cataclysm in, actually catches one member only on the back end. Here comes your Hextech Ultimatum, but it might just be too little too late. Control dies for his efforts there after diving in. And now Bigetron Esports playing the pull and push. A flash in actually doesn't really get anything there. A bit of a wasted summoner spell as we see the greed on the side of Bigetron Esports. They were trying to go for more, but they weren't all on the same page. Falp1 and Nuts used their flash to no avail.
Yeah, but even though if Control died in that fight, that is just how Bigetron Esports traded that for the turret into the mid lane. Because the Rift Herald wasn't really able to bring it down, and now they opened up the jungle for Amihan Esports to not be able to really free farm, free roam into their very own side of the map. And considering, you know what, let's go back into the gold lead for BTR. Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, already secured by Tristana, and when you're looking at Twisted Fate, ROA and also the Lich Bane is available, and this is gonna be disgusting when it comes to the damage output of these two champions.
Not just that, but also the rapid fire cannon being queued up already means that he gets extended range on that one gold card. That's now a solid engage option. And we're talking about in the pregame, you know, the draft about how they're gonna lock down Demon. If he manages to get within range of the gold card, that's how they could probably start the fight, allow Control to jump in and follow up. I am starting to see what Bigetron Esports have kind of planned and drafted in this game.
I love how you mentioned the distance that Bigetron Esports wants to do on Diwa against Demon on this specific game. And on top of all that, you have the ultimate of Diwa to bring away Demon. And Demon doesn't really have a stun that can bring him in. It's the stun pushes away the enemy team champion. So I think that's just the distance game for Bigetron Esports.
Control jumps in with the flag and drag, will not find Mitsura. Remember, he still has the Cataclysm available to start the fight if he wants to, but he's just being a bit more disciplined, not so trigger happy, knowing that his team isn't really there to back him up. Look at this. They're setting up a death bush. There are no wards here for Amihan. If they walk in, they might just get caught out. Throwing out the winner's bite. First in the flag and drag in. Bigetron Esports pull the trigger a little too early. And meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, you can see that Carl is just split pushing. There is some pressure being put down by Amihan Esports. They don't necessarily have to fight this as long as Carl can get something done in the Dragon Lane.
Yeah, and on top of all that, this is what I'm saying. This is what we're saying a while ago. When Tier 1 turret falls down into the mid lane, it's over when it comes to the control of Amihan Esports in their very own side of the map. And when you talked about the split push, I think that is the only way how Amihan Esports can bring this back. It is a 3k gold disadvantage and a Cloud Dragon and Mountain Dragon secured by Bigetron Esports. And it's just so hard to bring them down because you have extra mobility and also extra sustainability that Mountain Dragon provides. And Amihan Esports just needs to wait for the late. Because if they wait for the late game, if Demon gets the security onto the 3 core items that he needs to scale out into the matchup, and Orcras has his wild growth ready, I think this is going to be disastrous. That Amihan Esports is waiting for the storm to come in.
The storm is brewing. I can hear the thunder from a mile away as we can see Ardent Sensor completed for Orthros here. Demon starting to get that power point. Already completed the Blade of the Ring King and Static Shiv, looking for the Trinity Force Nyx to round out his build as Amihan Esports. They're behind 3k gold, but they're not out of this one just yet. 20 seconds on the Ocean Dragon, so that is going to be potentially the next objective contested by both teams here. setting up the vision, making sure that they have information is Bigetron Esports. They're invading very deep, putting the wards down.
Yeah, Notion Drake now alive. Bigetron Esports already has a dominance onto the riverbed, and Amihan Esports doesn't have any vision towards it. If you're looking at the map, it's pretty much clear as clear for Amihan Esports. They don't see anything.
Look at this, they pop the Redemption now, dragging down a 4K flag and drag it into the backline. It's going to be the Cataclysm locking up 2, and the power on comes in. Explosive cast to reset the fight. The Cyclone in the backline. This is disastrous for Bigetron Esports. They could still turn this one around, but they have to find the angle. Now jumping in is going to be the Camus, and now Amihan Esports looking to clean up this fight. They're looking for the next one, and now the ace is going to come in. A triple kill for Carl, and a full ace and wipe for Amihan Esports.
Late game composition on the way. Amihan Esports is bringing it back for the teammates. And now, that is what we're saying. Amihan Esports needs to wait for their late game power spike to bring it back. And they just did that in terms of the matchup. BRK, Static Shiv, and Evil Vayne to go for those consistent damage output with a sliver of a burst damage potential. And if you're looking at it, Rapid Fire Cannon for Diwa, not going to be available. He went for the BRK instead because you have the wild growth that gives you extra sustainability. Is just so hard to deal with, and Camille and Gragas as well at the same time. So utilizing, I think, BRK would be much better for Tristana to go for that consistent output of damage, that attack speed, and that lifesteal enables you to go for more of the prolonged fights.
It feels like in that last fight, Bigetron Esports did not respect the Cyclone. They did not respect the Hextech Ultimatum, the way these kind of utility ultimates can split the fight up. Even the explosive cast was crucial in separating members of Bigetron Esports. Now, Amihan, they are slightly behind in gold, but we saw the power of this composition as it begins to scale up. 14.5 minutes in, they managed to pick up the Ocean Dragon earlier. Now it's going to be the Baron. All eyes towards the big purple worm as the objective. Clearing out the wards first. Already having the Scuttle Crab in possession. They're setting up this Death Brush. No vision whatsoever. Control is going to throw down the Demacian Standard for some vision and spot out members of Amihan Esports there.
But they're just still waiting. Amihan Esports is thinking, you know what? We're still not onto the big lead. Yes, we have the Team Ace. Yes, we have the Ocean Dragon. But the gold still says otherwise. We are at a gold deficit. We still need to respect how BTR Esports has built their draft as we look into mid lane.
Redemption coming down, tags a couple members of Bigetron Esports. Is not the most as the explosive cast splits this. What a flank coming in, and the Cyclone immediately tears apart Diwa, and now there's no damage for Bigetron Esports. They have to turn tail and run. They have to flee the scene. There's nothing much they can do here. Running from back to front, it's going to be Demon getting the kills, a triple already. Now looking for the Quadra. He's on a rampage, and ladies and gentlemen, a Quadra kill for Demon, and an ace for Amihan Esports back to back.
Carl, you sneaky champion, going into the backside, going in for the support onto the flank of Mitsura. And that was amazing. That delayed how Bigetron Esports wants to go back. And they're looking to finish the game into the mid lane, gets the inhibitor turn.
Inhibitor is down. There's still a couple of moments left before members of Bigetron Esports spawn up, and still the wave is coming in. The flash away from Carl to stay healthy is down to 1,000, 8,005. I don't think Bigetron is going to be able to defend this. And ladies and gentlemen, Amihan Esports with a 2-0 at the end of day one. Look at the smiles, look at the pride, look at the happiness. A storm is coming. I hope you guys brought your umbrellas.
They have just waited for the wind and the water to come through so that they can bring in a disaster storm into that matchup, and BTR will fall down. Amihan Esports will take the win. And this is what we're saying. Their composition is built towards the late game. Vayne needs items. Bo actually deals so much damage, and considering that you have the true damage already built into his skill kit, in addition to our BRK, that's massive damage all around.
All that stuff coming in, you have to trust that Demon's going to pop off in the late game, and it's a composition you drafted for. You know, split them up with the explosive cast, keep them in place with the Cyclone and Hextech Ultimatum, and Demon gets this free space to run at them. Look at this goal graph. My goodness, all the way until, 15 minutes? It was all Bigetron Esports all day, and now Amihan, somehow they managed to clutch it out and get the win.
Yeah, and I think I want to say something towards Amihan Esports. If we're looking at the items of Demon, he went in for the Trinity Force, and that is not exactly what the basic build states would be. BRK Static Shiv, sure. But when it comes to the Trinity Force, that is still a mystery. But I think the reason for this is you have the ability Ace, you have the all-around more sustainability with extra HP coming in from Phage. And on top of all that, Shin, with a passive, gives you extra damage as well. Especially how Demon, as a Vayne, plays out on those spammy skills, just jumping all around. And every single attack resets your CD for your roll, right? As I suppose.